So, I wanted to make a video speaking about how to make love like a woman, right? In one of my previous videos, I mentioned this idea, but I never spoke about it. So, I wanted to explore this idea with you so you can fully grasp it and not leave you to your own conclusions about it. So, check my previous videos, just the recent ones, right? You will see I was speaking how sexual fluidity, how all of this superficial sexual variety is just deviation from heterosexuality. It is all just sexual depolarization stemming from unresolved trauma, right? So, sexual depolarization, right? Being depolarized. So, not being polarized, not being potent, not operating from your highest power, right? Not being whole, right? A whole man or a whole woman, right? So, thus you being depolarized, partial. Because you're partial, you're being depolarized, right? So, there is no shame in admitting that you're sexually depolarized because we are all traumatized, right? This society is traumatizing. The moment you are born, you adopt trauma, and society traumatizes you, and they don't give you a chance, an option to resolve that. If you don't resolve your trauma, you remain living traumatized, and thus become sexually depolarized, right? Because this just means that you are still repressing yourself, right? Because trauma makes you, so the society rejects you, and then you keep rejecting yourself, right? In order to be accepted. We do this consciously and unconsciously, right? And so until you resolve that, you will be sexually depolarized. And so there is no shame in admitting that, because everybody is like this, everybody's traumatized, everybody's sexually depolarized, and it is just about you finally stop resisting, becoming conscious, because you have been till now consciously or unconsciously resisting, repressing, living in fear of expressing your whole self, right? That's it. This is all that's happening. And if you resist expressing, you conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter. There is always a side of you that you're unconscious to, right? So it is just about you expressing your whole soul, the embodiment of your soul. This is what resolvement of trauma means. Are you capable of, in the moment, obeying the guidance of God, of the highest power of the universe, of the force? Are you capable of obeying the guidance, being open to it, and acting on it as the moment, as it is demanded from you in the moment, right? Because every moment demands something from you to be expressed, something that's most genuine in that moment. And if you are able to be in flow with that, you are resolved. But if you are not able to be resolved in flow with that, you're not resolved. And you are then repressing consciously or unconsciously your soul, and your soul is your sexual creative energy. Your soul, your sexual energy, your creative energy, your life force, the source of life, your feminine energy. This is all one and the same thing, just different names, right? And so it is just about that. It is about embodiment of your feminine energy as the source of life, coming from the highest power, right? How are you going to manifest yourself as highest power of yourself, highest version of yourself, if you're not acting on that power, right? Coming to you, being provided to you, giving you life every step of the way, if you're not acting on your inspirations, right? It's impossible. So This is the only way. This is what enlightenment means. This is the path of enlightenment. Everybody is on this path. You just need somebody to correct you, to continue walking this path, right? So I'm here guiding you, nothing else. Everybody's walking this path. Are you conscious of that or not? So I wanted to speak about that, and I also wanted to say, because I didn't want to be demonizing sex, right? In the previous video, as I said, that heterosexuality is our natural sexuality, right? But I don't want to be demonizing sex, because I'm all about liberation of soul, liberation of life, liberation of sexual, feminine energy, right? Of the source of life. I'm all about that, right? And so I will just say this. If you are in a loving, in a true loving, devotional container relationship, and your natural inclination, your most preferred, your default way of doing it, not because now you have heard me saying this and you will now force upon yourself some idea because you want to be seen as heterosexual, but because from your own embodiment, from your own embodied research, confirmation and proof, you have proven to yourself that doing vaginal, so dick and pussy, heterosexual sex, generates most power, right? Because you have truly confirmed that in your body, how actually vaginal sex harnesses, accumulates, generates most sexual potency, the best sex and highest power, because you have confirmed this and not because you're trying to force that upon yourself. So if you're doing this, if you're being fully responsible, a mature adult human being in a responsible relationship, fully being responsible about your life force, and thus being in true love container and from embodiment doing vaginal sex, if you're being like that, it just means that you are resolved. You're fully embodied, or at least very highly, very deep embodied, right? And I will just say this. If you are, and what I wanted to say is that if you are like this, then be my guest, right? In this kind of situation, you can do all kinds of sex. You can do anal sex, you can do whatever kind of sex you want, right? If your main dish is vaginal sex, truly from embodiment, from your own proof in the body, then you can do all other types of sex, right? There is no problem, there is no demonization, right? Then explore your bodies with your woman and have fun, right? But if you are not a responsible human being, if you are not in this kind of true love, devotional container, you weren't even responsible enough to come to this relationship, so you are not even responsible about your life force. So, and if you're not responsible, if you don't take responsibility for your life force, you're not embodied. And when you're not embodied, it means just that you still haven't accepted your whole self. It means you are still sexually depolarized, right? And you will, in this sexual depolarization, in this irresponsibility, non-responsibility, you will maybe have different preferences, like maybe anal sex being your most preferable way of doing it, right? And so no matter if you are man with a woman, man with a man, or woman with a woman, if vaginal sex, if hetero way of doing sex, if dick and pussy is not your natural way of doing it, it just means you have problem with heterosexual way of doing it, right? If you are not from embodiment spontaneously naturally doing vaginal sex, no matter with who you are, if you are not capable of doing it, if this is not your preferred way of doing it naturally, it means you have problem with heterosexual way of doing it, right? And if you have problem with doing it the heterosexual way, it just means there are mirrors of ourselves, of our state, of our true state on all levels of life. If you have problem doing it the heterosexual way, so dick and pussy way, if you're not capable of doing it, it's just because, so not capable, right? Because you're a man with a man or a woman with a woman, or it's not your preferred way. Maybe you're a man with a woman, but it's not your preferred way. So if you're in this kind of situation, it just means you have problem with heterosexuality. It means you have problem because heterosexuality means opposite sex, right? So if you have problems with heterosexuality, you have problems with opposite sex. If you have problems with heterosexuality not being your natural, bodily, spontaneous, most preferred way of doing it, natural, if this is not for you, it means you have problems with the opposite sex. And if you actually are unconsciously, deep down inside, hating on the opposite sex, if you have problems, your heterosexual way of doing it not being natural just means you hating the opposite sex, you having the problem with opposite sex. And the problem with opposite sex with another human is just a mirror of you having problem with yourself, right? Because there is femininity and masculinity within all of us. And so if you are a man and you don't prefer heterosexual way naturally, spontaneously, it means you have problem with the woman, with the femininity outside, mirroring this situation, mirroring in you your problem with your femininity inside of you, right? Everything is just a mirror, right? Now, and nobody can anymore brainwash us into thinking that sexual fluidity or all these superficial sexual expressions, identities, is a normal thing. It's not, and this is not a judgment. I'm just pinpointing in numerous proofs how actually what is our naturality. Then there is no more denying that, right? If you are a woman and you are not doing heterosexual sex because you're not with the person that you can do, or you are with a man but this is not your preferred way of doing it, you are hating the opposite sex. If you are hating heterosexuality, maybe you will not say that you hate on it, but you will have problem with it. It just means you are unconsciously having problem with it, unconsciously have unresolved issue with it. So it means you have problem with the opposite sex, you have problem with the man, and so you have problem with your own inner masculinity, right? Everything is a mirror. And until you embody the full spectrum of your life force as this feminine principle of life, of this feminine energy, because our soul is feminine in nature, right? Just look at children. Children, they are, no matter if they are a boy or a girl, they are all like women, right? They are all like girl when you're a child, right? Because our soul is by default, by nature, it's feminine in nature. And so if you don't embody this soul of yours, this feminine energy of yours, the whole spectrum of it, on one side as the feminine qualities and expressions, and on the other side of this feminine energy, the masculine expressions, the masculine qualities, right? If you don't embody the whole spectrum of humanity, it just means you have problem with it, you have internal problem with it, that will be mirrored in external having problem with it, and that will be even mirrored in sex. Thus, the sexual depolarization, it is proven. Voila, that's it, right? And so there is no shame in that, because we have all been sexually depolarized, because we have been traumatized, right? I was sexually depolarized also. I was never bi, homo, or trans. I was never this depolarized, but I was sexually depolarized, and everybody is. You can see, like, I was sexually depolarized. I was a type of dude that's a little bit too soft and a little bit too passive, and life mirrored that to me by bringing a woman into my life that's very dominant and manipulative, right? This is how life mirrors you constantly. That, like, this was one of my biggest lessons from my last relationship, right? Seeing how actually she is mirroring me, my own sexual depolarization, right? And then resolving that, becoming aware of that. The relationship fell away, right? And so the only way to heal this, to reverse this sexual depolarity and coming to from embodiment, from spontaneity, truly in your naturality, living your heterosexuality, not because some system forces it upon you, living it from the mind, forcing yourself, but truly from spontaneity, from a relaxed state. You need to heal and balance yourself. Check my video, the one pinned on my wall. It speaks about it. The only way you can heal and balance yourself, truly heal and fulfill yourself, is by being obedient to the guidance of God, being one with your intuition, right? And so I'm not perfect in that, but I am already healed, I'm resolved. Now I'm in the stage of evolution where I'm resolved energetically, I'm balanced, but God is still teaching me how there is still arrogance in me, thinking that I can achieve fulfillment without Him, right? First you heal yourself and then you fulfill yourself, right? So I'm healed, but now there is still some arrogance in me because I'm a limited human being. I don't have the vision of God, I don't see everything. And because I'm limited, I'm thinking that because now I'm healed, I can live in my own kind of way, but God just then takes fulfillment away from me and makes my life boring, right? And every time I come into obeying Him, what He wants from me, He wants from me to live the heavenly life that He has for me, my highest timeline, my destiny. I have to obey Him, right? There is no other way to come to that highest timeline. You can't do it by yourself with your own mind. You have to depend on following your heart, on your intuition, on the guidance, on the inspiration of life, acting from life, from the highest power in order to manifest that. And this can't be done through the head, through the mind. It can only be done through the body. There is no other way. That's it. So I've spoken too much, and I now will do another video speaking about how to make love like a woman.